Hey, everybody, welcome to the Mining Town Podcast, episode one. And today I would like to kind of just go over the history of how this podcast kind of started and uh, my purpose in starting the podcast and just how my thinking has been since the pandemic, even prior to that. So let me let's just get started right in there. In 2018, I Trump was still in there. I think maybe even gold was still around $1,200 an ounce. Maybe it was maybe started creeping up back then, but um, I was in real estate in Brooklyn, and I was doing rentals. I initially started out here on Long Island, but I wanted I thought, I want to do more deals. I need to do deals quicker. Had heard that it was more, high volume, fast paced in the city, in New York. So I found a small real estate firm in Brooklyn, and it was just like a startup. There was a few agents in there. My broker was young, and it was a pretty laid back place, but there wasn't a lot of um, we didn't have a lot of listings. We didn't have a strong presence. Nobody knew who we were. So it was great for me because uh, I got to help, like, with a lot of business development. You know what I mean? Early on in a company that was very small and struggling, and I learned a lot about how to process deals and how to find listings, how to find things for sale. And I was having a great time in Brooklyn. And I remember, um, the winter before the pandemic, it was like around this time. Um, I'm in the office. We're doing. I'm getting a lot of listings upcoming for March, April. A lot of things were going to be coming available, and so I was excited for the year. I thought this is going to be a great year. I have like super great listings, like nobody else knows about, good deals, beautiful apartments. Um, and at this point, I was living in Brooklyn too, in East Williamsburg. We had found an apartment that was pretty cheap because you're in real estate, so you see everything. We were trying to rent this apartment. Nobody wanted to rent it for some reason. It was a two bed for 2,000. The bedrooms were small, no closets, but it was still a two bed for 2,000 in East Williamsburg. I forget what street it was on, but it was a decent listing. But the problem was that I needed to rent. Somebody else needed to rent something so that I could pay my rent. That was the problem during this time. And I remember coming home to um, to tell my roommate. I said, all my clients just canceled. Nobody wants to do any business with this. All of a sudden, pandemic in the air. Sorry, I have some Chicano playing here. It's Serenata a Cafajate 2024 I'm listening to right now. But so this is how it all started. Now, at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back to my house on Long Island. Once everybody canceled all their appointments with me, and I realized no business was occurring, and not only that, everything was shutting down. And it took people a minute to actually understand the severity of the situation because I remember my roommate being like, Jeff, what are you talking about? Like, go out, find the money, like, do something. I was like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I mean, what can you do in that situation? And I don't even know if I understood how bad things were going to get. But anyway, what we should have done was, after that, I should have came back out to Long Island and started doing real estate in Long Island again. That probably would have been the smartest move. I didn't see the trends, how the trends were going to unfold. I just thought that at that time, and I know I jumped from 2018 to 2020, but you know, between 2018 and 2020, I'm learning more about gold, the mining sector. Initially, I was more interested in Bitcoin. And I remember talking to my broker about Bitcoin and how it's going to, disrupt the real estate industry. But the more research I tried to do into these companies that were tokenizing real estate and these businesses that were uh, in the crypto world, in the crypto space, I could not, for the life of me, get any information. It just seemed like this stuff is happening, but nobody really understood what was happening, how it was happening. I couldn't get any information on it. And the more I listened to it, the more I kind of became skeptical. And even to this day, I went the gold route instead of the crypto route. Okay. So that happened first was, I thought about crypto and then I said, this bull market is getting long in the tooth. I thought the rent prices were extremely high back then. I'm sure, they're higher today. And I thought they would need to come down a little bit. I thought that prices would start coming down. And I I was really upset actually when AOC and everybody got in there and they passed all this real estate legislation against the brokers, against the landlords. I can't even, don't even get me started on how the legislation has helped like prevent prices from coming down for people. But when the pandemic first hit, I thought that real estate prices would fall. And I thought there would be a lot of business for my firm because I thought people would have to renegotiate their rents. I thought there would be a lot of activity in the space. But what happened was um, they put a moratorium on evictions, they put a moratorium on foreclosures, and I wasn't sure, nothing was moving. And I was just like, yeah, this is a dying space. It's already overcrowded, it's already difficult as it is. I said, I kind of, now I like real estate's a big, industry. I guess I could have moved, like I said, but I thought, let me try to get into this different industry. So I started contacting um, people in the metals and mining industry on LinkedIn or wherever I could find them. I started contacting them. I was just interested in any experience, any business, any location. I didn't know um, anything about the industry. I didn't know anything about the mining industry. I still know very little about the mining industry. But my first sort of clue was Nevada. So I contacted somebody. It was like some kind of temp agency in Nevada, and I told them I was coming out there. And by the time I had gotten out there, I think I wasn't even in touch with them, but they had disclosed to me that they were located in Elko, Nevada. So I took a flight out to Reno. Flights were dirt cheap at that time because nobody was flying because of the pandemic. And I remember I thought Reno was, I don't know. It was a nice city, but I was like, where's all the mining stuff, right? So I head out to Elko, Nevada. And uh, I think it was very, like, the people there were super friendly. I think I got set up there with a place and work I found pretty quickly. And the reason I wanted to call this podcast Mining Town Podcast is because these mining towns are such a like hidden in the rough gem of a thing, forgotten, completely forgotten. This mining town in Nevada, Elko. If you've never been there, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's only you would drive through it in 5 minutes, but there is so much going on there. Um, it's like old school cowboy type town. Um, I thought a lot of freedom there. Everybody's, got a concealed carry. You can smoke cigarettes in the bar. They sell cigarettes in the bar. I mean, any place you go to like that's like that, I'm for it. It just was had a different vibe, and they had a lot of big mines there in the town, and a lot of the businesses service the mines in the area. Um, so really, the town's made up of hotels, a few diners, a few clubs, and or bars, restaurants. Shout out to Goldie's bar. um, but yeah, so I stayed there for a little bit. I worked for a rigging company. I got a quick I had a quick job at one of the mining companies at Jarrett Canyon, and at the same time, I was still kind of in my real estate phase, in my real estate mode, and I was looking for businesses perhaps in the secondary metals and mining industry because I thought, mining is very risky. It's kind of, it seems difficult. I don't know much about it. And, purchasing um, an active mine, it seemed like, now I didn't realize how unpopular, the mining investment community actually was. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, I somehow meet a connect in Ghana, right? Prince. He said, come out to Ghana. And I was like, that's a great idea. I'd love to come out to Ghana. I was like, I've never been out to Africa before. He's showing me all this gold, right? Get me excited, right? And I'm like, yeah, let me check it out. So I booked a flight. Now it wasn't just that's not the end of the story, right? I started thinking about it, and I'm like, let me not just have one connect. I need to sort of see what else is out there. So I start talking to different people from Ghana, and each one's trying to, I don't know, sell something. Some of them had uh, claims, different types of documents showing, you know, old mines that they wanted to get started, or different projects that they had been working on, or this and that. People started talking to me, sending me stuff, and until I met, I met a friend, John, and I kind of liked John. He was married, and I could kind of find his mining claim, or at least, who he was telling me about. I could find it on the Ghana Mining Registry. So I said, okay, this seems like a good guy, and that's how I initially went out to Ghana. He had more of a plan. I knew I was going to get to see like the mining process out there, and that was really why I went, was to learn about the process, and um, just to experience Africa in general, to see what types of problems I might encounter, to see, and I wish I had, I might have only been there for 10 days. I really, maybe 2 weeks, not long enough to really get into any trouble or to, have any success. But I did get to see a lot in those 2 weeks. I went from Accra to Obuasi, and 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 in the Kumasi region, and then I went from Obuasi to Tarkwa in the western region, and I forget what region that's in, um, but Tarkwa is a that's where some of the bigger scale stuff is. I didn't see too much small scale stuff in Tarkwa, but I even have friends here in Long Island that are from that area, that have mined in that area, and it just seemed like when I was there, it seemed like the gold was abundant, you know. Um, I mean, there was mining going on. I remember driving down the highway. This side of the highway is mined out. This side of the highway is mined out. And it just, I was like, wow, this is, there's a lot of mining industry going on here. I saw a lot of Chinese around. Um, and then, you know, the company I was with, they were looking for investors. So I started to kind of see what the appetite was like for mining investment in Africa. And let me tell you, it is um, almost zero because, you know, very hard to know who to trust. And, you know, I don't have enough experience even. Although I've met other people now, I have better connections now that have more experience, years and years of experience in Africa, mining in Africa. So if I was to do it again, you know, I would have better expertise, like more either Americans or Europeans or just people with more experience dealing with the locals. But I got the bare I got the bare minimum of how the process goes, which is, you know, you go to the tribes person, you sort of you bring some gifts, you talk to them about what you found, and this is the old school way of doing it, right? If you want to do it the proper way, I guess, you know, you can go to the mining, you know, officials in the government and ask them for a prospecting permit, and there's a lot of different ways of doing it. But in reality, everybody seems to kind of the Ghanaians didn't really seem like they were too concerned with paperwork to me. I don't know if that was something that I maybe misunderstood, but I think that a lot of the signals that they were sending me were sort of like that, like paperwork is more of like a Western type thing. Like here in the East, like that, like the paperwork didn't really mean as much, which is why you got to be careful, right? Because paperwork doesn't mean anything to these people. So you know they don't. Anyway, I go home. Had an amazing experience in Ghana. I'm heading back to Elko, and you know, I don't know why I met somebody on the train. He's like, I'm going to Denver. He's like, that's what he tells me. I just broke up with my girlfriend. I'm going to Denver. And I was like, Denver's on the way, huh? I was like, I had never been there. So I get off the train in Denver. Somehow I pick up a few jobs. I'm working. Things are tough, but I'm doing pretty well. I thought I had enough money. I saved up enough money where I was like, okay, I'd like to go to South America for the winter, right? Because who doesn't want to go to South America for the winter? So I I'm doing some research online, and here's the ironic, funny thing. I hear about Paraguay. Paraguay is the place where, you know, the expat hub, right, in Latin America. Easy to get your citizenship, easy place to move to. The interesting thing I thought about it too was almost zero mining industry, um, which very interesting to me. Cattle and soybeans and a few other things, but and now I'm learning they have more mining actually going on there. But I went there initially because this was one of the few countries that I kind of thought did not have any mining industry, and I thought that that might have been sort of the reason that they didn't have as much. They weren't as. It wasn't going to be. I felt like a fast-paced, like scammer type environment, because there's not the quick. You know, the urge to get rich quick, like in gold schemes. You know what I mean? It's just agriculture is very slow. It's a very basic business. Um, so I thought, all right, let me check out Paraguay, and I did. I had a great time there. I what I loved about Paraguay was the river. Um, I loved the it just seemed like, now you can't go swimming in the river, right? The river's dirty, but it seemed like they were moving a lot of material up and down the river. And they called the Paraguay River like the Mississippi of the South. You know, there were a lot of interesting things about Latin America that I thought reminded me of the US like 120 years ago. They're supposedly in the works building a transcontinental railroad between four countries. I think it's Brazil, Paraguay. Okay, got a few distractions here. Where were we? So yeah, Paraguay over to Argentina. Go over to Argentina. I'm like, this place is amazing. I mean, people are super nice. Everything's super cheap. Um, I mean, Argentina is a magical place. If you've never been there, I recommend you go. Especially Salta. Reminded me a lot of Elko. I mean, and they love rodeo and cowboy stuff. I mean, really magical place. I did a whole video on Salta, right? Because I ended up staying there volunteering on a farm for a few months. So I have like made friends with the family there and everything. Super nice. Um, I went over to Chile, just briefly. I don't know, maybe I was there for a week. I got off in the wrong town. I went to Antofagasta. So from Salta, I went over to Antofagasta, um, which it is, you know, the thing that was so interesting about Antofagasta is everybody had a nice car, but nobody had a nice house. I didn't get the sense there wasn't a bunch of high rises, new buildings really that I had seen there. That was one thing I kind of noticed. The houses were like shacks, but they had nice trucks and nice new cars. Um, it also kind of made me nervous that it was so just. It seemed so far from anything. Um, you know, the whole city is on a sliver of beach. And then on top of that, I got the chance to go over to, I was on the border of Peru, and they're having an illegal migrant crisis. I thought this is hilarious, you know? Um, you're going over to the Colombians, Venezuelans, they're coming down to Chile because Chile's money is a little bit better than or Colombian money, Venezuelan money. Chilean money, the whole economy is based off of copper. And I went through a copper town. I should have gotten off there, but I didn't have any connects. I didn't barely spoke any Spanish, so I was kind of having trouble down there. After that, I tried to continue on my journey, but at that point, I was like, all right, I'm pretty tired. Let me head home. So I came home for a little bit, stayed home for a month or two, and then I got the opportunity to go down to Costa Rica. So I started doing some research on Costa Rica. I'm like, okay. Um, Turns out mining is illegal in Costa Rica. Don't have much mining there. You wouldn't really go there normally for a mining thing. But I was there, sort of on vacation with a friend. So I go, I check out this place. I was reading about. There's two places if you look it up. Now I was thinking of going to Nicaragua. I was like, all right, let me check out Nicaragua. But there's two places you can go. Crucitas, which is like, I don't know. That's where the government police are just kicking everybody out of there. And then there's Las Juntas. Las Juntas is an old school mining town. Um, I would say it's pretty similar to Elko. Um, eh, Except it's all very small scale private. It's not huge open pit, massive, but the town itself reminds me a lot of the same types of people as Elko. And these mining towns have been kind of like forgotten a little bit about, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like you get, the roughest people coming through there. Um, and that's where I actually first got to get my hands a little dirty, and like, learn a little bit more about like what you're looking for in the rock, and how, the one thing I didn't get to do was actually go and work in a tunnel. So hopefully next time, that'll happen. But pretty much, I documented a lot of it. I posted it. It's up there for you all to see. I'm gonna post the stuff on Chile soon, just so you can have an idea of what Chile's like. Chile is, to be honest, the northern part is complete desert mountain. I mean, it's beautiful, but there's nothing. It's just, I don't know how, if you can survive out there, because it's just, I don't know how much water they get. I don't know how much snow they get. They have some windmills up there. I mean, and then they have these massive copper mines, lithium mines. I think they are, opening maybe some gold, maybe open pit. They're very mining friendly country. They consider themselves like, one of the more developed countries. Um, and I thought, compared to Costa Rica, I thought actually they were relatively well priced, because Costa Rica was extremely overpriced. I mean, I didn't realize how the closer you get to the United States, the more overpriced just everything seems to get. And I want to do a podcast on that too, different currencies, and the the uh, the different prices. I talk a lot about. I always mention, oh, this country has, their biggest bill is $3, or their biggest bill is $15, or their biggest bill is $40, or their biggest bill is whatever. And I still haven't gotten too many good answers on what a country's biggest bill might indicate about their economy, but I have a feeling that they're connected. I have a feeling that the strength of your economy and the strength and the size of your biggest bill is strongly correlated, but I'm not sure. And if you look up, actually, um, if you look up which countries have the biggest bill, and there's a few different, but I bet you didn't know, and I bet you wouldn't guess. Maybe you would. But Sweden has $1,000 bill. I think some Swedes have even told me that they've seen occasionally $1,000 bill somewhere, right? But I was like, we don't even have $1,000 bill, right? Soon we might have $1,000 bill. So soon we might have a $10,000 bill. I mean, seeing what I'm seeing, I mean, they might just start adding the bills to, zeros to the bill. But as of right now, our biggest bill is 100. And going from like somewhere like Argentina or Nicaragua, I get, people don't understand why, or at least this, Costa Rica also is having a migration crisis, right? Every country, if your currency right now is not hyperinflating right now, like it is in Argentina or Nicaragua, then people are heading to your country in droves. Like everybody thinks that it's because they're fleeing gang violence, and they're fleeing narcos, and they're fleeing, corruption and all this stuff. I mean, they are all those things, but really what they really want is just to be able to work for a currency that isn't inflating the hell and can buy them something. They don't want to feel like they're working a whole day for $10. So that's why this whole immigration crisis is actually happening right now. And Costa Rica had the strongest currency out of all the countries I had traveled to. It was $40 was the biggest bill. And I don't know, I felt like the stuff there was extremely expensive. It was like, like pretty, I mean, I thought the stuff there was expensive compared to all the other countries I had been to. So, yeah, that's pretty much the story. Why the mining towns? Why the mining towns? I think, at one point these mining towns were booming. I mean, it's funny to say, but at one point, these mining towns, and I like things that are old. I like antiques. It's that's how I feel about the mining towns. They're antique. There's value there for a reason different than what people might consider valuable in today's age. I mean, before I had, embarked on this mining town uh, tour, or whatever you want to call it, I was asking people if they were interested in the mining sector. I was like, yeah, I'm interested in the mining sector. I'm telling all my friends about it. They go, you mean Bitcoin mining? Like, what are you talking about mining? What do you mean? You mean Bitcoin mining? So, I mean, Bitcoin has completely co-opted the gold sector. You type in mining, I don't even know if gold mining comes up or mineral mining comes up. I mean, but it's still there. It's just it's relatively small, I guess, in terms of the rest of these tech sectors. So and it's funny. I think a lot of the tech people, if they were smart, they would look into into some of these less popular sectors to maybe help make mining easier, or I mean, I know that these places are still playing catch up, um, but I think there could be some opportunity there, and maybe helping uh, mine these minerals that are going to be becoming so much more valuable. And we all know um, what's coming. Everybody. I think everybody, at least the people that I kind of are paying attention to, seem to believe that commodities are going to be more expensive. And I think if commodities are more expensive, I think that these mining towns might if it's a long-term commodity bull market, I think these towns could be a good diamond in the rough for the long term, because nobody's interested in moving to Elko, Nevada, going to Elko, Nevada. But I remember reading that during like the Great Depression or certain recessions, the mining towns actually they sort of boom. A lot of people go out to work in the mines because the pay can keep up with the inflation rate. And actually, somebody was talking to me about that in Argentina. They were geologists from Canada, and they were saying that they were able to live relatively well in Argentina because the company they worked for could keep paying them despite the inflation rate rising. They could keep, I guess every month or so they get a raise, um, in Argentina, and I think that's going to be the case for a lot of companies suffering from high inflation. But I especially like these uh, low cost, commodity centric emerging market countries that it's kind of hard to get information on them. Um, it's I like countries that are a little bit obscure, not too many people know about them, because that's where you might find some value. Now, I saw a lot of bubbleliciousness going on in certain sectors. I definitely, all I heard about when I was down in Argentina was lithium, all the lithium mines that they're starting to build, and all I heard about in Paraguay was real estate the whole time, and all I heard about in copper was, I mean, in Chile it was copper the whole time. Ghana, all I heard about was gold the whole time, and I don't know, certain uh, those things to me seem to not really scream like, this is cheap right now, that this is a good investment right now. Um, uh, but I mean, I could be. I thought the cheapest place, and the place everybody wants to stay away from, is Argentina, because, and the reason why I went there was, of course, Salta, because Doug Casey recommends it. So if you don't follow Doug Casey, go follow him, and listen to his recommendations, because I was surely not disappointed in that trip. Um, but yeah, it's like I was speaking to a real estate agent in Paraguay, and she's making great money in Paraguay, and everybody's moving to Paraguay. Europeans, Ukrainians, Germans are pushing up prices of real estate in Paraguay. I was like, oh my God, coming all the way down to Paraguay. There's a real estate bubble in Paraguay, right? But yeah, Argentina, they have so many regulations. I mean, I don't even know how difficult it is to buy property down there or to invest down there, but um, nobody wants to invest there because of all the regulations. I mean, like things like, you can't Airbnb, you can't sublet, you can't rent, you can't, in their real estate sector. Meanwhile, Paraguay, there's no regulations. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want. Nobody's going to bother you. Nobody cares. It's just if you should pay taxes, because if you need something from the government, they're going to look at you. They're going to look at your history and be like, well, you haven't been paying taxes. But other than that, they're not coming after you. Argentina, maybe they are coming after you, or who knows? Their taxes are ridiculous. Everybody's trying to avoid them, or you got to do all this crazy stuff because, and then there was the police there in Argentina too, which I didn't like. The checkpoints, that reminded me of Ghana. I mean, if I felt bad for the Argentinians, or maybe I should feel bad for the Ghanaians, because both of them, you can't go down the road without a police checkpoint stopping you, asking you where you're going, what you're doing. I always keep my mouth shut in those situations. I'm like, I'm not from here. I don't want to instigate anything. I don't want to say anything. If you're smart, you'll just, and they still might hustle you down for some coins. But traveling around, I go to a lot of the coin shops too. I talk with a lot of the coin dealers. Some countries they're easier to find the coin dealer. Some countries, the coin dealer is a little bit more obscure. You're not really sure who he is, where he is, in some certain cities and things like that. But the most interesting thing was that they were buying and selling silver in Paraguay and Chile at $1 a gram. I thought this was so interesting. Dollar gram is right, $28. You might be able to get $30, right, per ounce. Here, I mean, it depends on who you call, but they're trying to give you, under spot, you know what I mean? Like, or they're selling it to you, at a ridiculous price. Now is a very risky time to be getting into the metals trade, because the prices are there's a lot of, like, I don't know if you call it, there's a big spread, I feel like, especially in the States, between what they'll buy it from you for and what they're selling it to you for. And maybe I didn't ask them really what they were selling silver for down in Latin America, but I'm sure they're not selling it for less than probably $35 an ounce, because they're buying it for $1 a gram. So I'm sure maybe they're asking double. Maybe they want $50. I didn't even, in Costa Rica, I didn't even want to know what they were trying to get for it, because it was like they wanted, but interesting, right? That they're paying $1 a gram down there. I thought that was so interesting. So yeah, that's just a little bit about my general experience. I think this is going on long enough, and maybe I can talk more in depth about the few places I've been in 2023 and some of the experiences. If you're interested, you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'd love to, I don't know, talk more about Latin America, talk more about, you know, Paraguay and Argentina, and what people think, what they think of the president, what they think of, if there's any news going on. Oh, yeah, like in the central bank, or in the economy. If you got any insider information, you can always, comment down below, and keep exploring, keep checking out the old mining towns, um, and and yeah, stay well. Cheers.